Do you hear the video?
Yeah, I could.
Welcome, Michele. How are you?
Hello, Marina. I'm very well. How are you doing today?
I can hear you very well. Thank you so much for joining us. How's everything going for you guys?
It's a pleasure joining you today, and everything is going pretty well. Everything is moving quite fast in the Lightning environment. So a lot of stuff happening, and we're really excited to be here today to discuss about some exciting topics in the ecosystem. How is it going at Bolt of Fun?
Well, we're a month in. There's 44 projects in the platform already. And I think that what I can tell from the last year's Legends of Lightning, what I've seen is an incredible movement in the quality of projects. Like the space has matured. The makers have seen the videos from before, have seen a little bit more. So about 183 makers are in the platform building 44 projects, which is pretty exciting to see, especially with the angle that we've added that makes it global with the local hackathons that are happening and are adding their work to the platform as well. So thank you, Michele, and it's so nice to have you here.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's been a nice journey so far, and I can't wait to see what's going to come next.
Well, next is our guests, right? Michele, do you want to introduce them?
Yes, of course. So today with us, we're going to have Roland and Bumi from Alby. And for who doesn't know what Alby is really disrupting the way developers can integrate the Lightning Network into their web apps. And thanks to them today, we're going to understand a bit more of what it really means in practical terms to integrate Lightning Network capabilities into your web app and why it's so important. And then they're going to give us a bit of a demonstration of what it practically means with a couple of examples from the real world. So welcome to Roland and Bumi.
I'm adding them right now.
Hello.
Hello.
Awesome. Hi, Marina. Hi, Michele. Thank you for having us.
It's our pleasure. Welcome, guys. Welcome. So how is life at Alby?
Lightning well, I would say.
Well said. So I would say probably why would you not introduce yourself and spend a couple of minutes telling our users what's so great about Lightning and what's so great about building with Alby? What draw you to implementing Lightning in the web, and why is it so important? So I guess the first thing that comes to mind is we're all here for a couple of reasons. One is we all fell into the Bitcoin rabbit hole, and second, if it weren't for the web, we wouldn't be able to do this, to have this here. So I guess would you like to tell us a bit more of why it's so important to bring these two pieces of technology together?
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you exactly already said it, right? So, but first of all, my name is Michael. On the internet, I'm called Bumi. I was writing the first lines of code actually of the Alby browser extension, or what became the Alby browser extension back then also at a hackathon. That's why I'm always very excited about hackathons and these kind of events, because this is where you get to experiment certain things and play around with certain things and can start projects. My motivation, actually, I have a technical background. I was always excited about web development. And my motivation there came from the possibility to globally share information, right? So you could build for the web and you immediately have a global audience. In theory, it doesn't matter where you as a developer are and where your audience is. So this is the exciting part. And I got into Bitcoin actually also, and I got into Lightning also because of that. Because what we were always missing on the internet is that we could transfer information, we could build apps, but we couldn't transfer value, we couldn't transfer money in a similar way. And this is what Bitcoin kind of brought, and especially what the Lightning Network enables. And with Alby, the goal is, with Alby the extension, but with Alby as a general project, the goal is that we make this as easy as possible for developers, for web developers, to integrate Lightning deeply and as native as possible in these in applications, so that the payment flow, like the transaction of value and the transfer of value, becomes like part of the actual user interaction. So, for example, when we don't hit a like button anymore, but when we hit a like button, we are actually sending satoshis, and suddenly like we have like this combined way of transferring information, but also transferring value in that sense. So, and this is our goal, what we want to make possible. This is where we want to also challenge the status quo, challenge the Lightning Network, push the Lightning Network forward in that direction, because the web is the most innovative platform. It's the most accessible platform. It's easy to build for, but it's once you build for the web, you instantly have a global audience, because the audience just needs to go to a website, enter something in the browser, and opens the application. So, and this is, I think, where most innovation will happen. So.
Exciting stuff. Well, I couldn't agree more with your thoughts on how the web makes it easy for people to come together from all over the world. But yes, exactly. The missing piece was being able to transact value without being kept at a gate by some third-party entity. So yeah, I'm really excited about what you're building at Alby. And a couple of words from Roland before we head into our workshop. So what about you, Roland?
So I've been a developer for maybe 15 years now. I started making cheats for games. That's how I got into programming. And after I fell down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, I realized I don't want to just make, standard programs, standard games. I want to integrate Bitcoin into them. And not just because it's a superior money, right, in every single way, but that I want to onboard new users, new people into Lightning, into Bitcoin, so that they can understand, why we need this money. So back last year, I was making this game, and I was working on it with my sister. Actually, she did the art, I did the programming, which was really cool. But we didn't really have much funding to put into marketing, promotion, all this stuff that really is important. And I think just maybe the game wasn't that fun. So, but before I stopped working on it, I actually added Lightning functionality to it, so you could spend some sats to buy some characters and do some little things. Actually sign up, you could pay to sign up, and that was a way to stop a prevention for bots, right? Because bots, they can't pay, well, they can't spam something if they have to keep paying real money in order to do it. So at that time, I was actually, which is kind of quite similar actually, I was really inspired by Stacker News. So if you guys know that platform where users can post content, and if they get upvoted, so it's kind of like Reddit, right? But if you get upvoted, people actually pay to upvote, and the upvotes is the total number of sats that you've been upvoted. And the really cool thing here is that users actually receive money back, right? So it's a way to monetize the content that you create. And I think that's something that's very difficult without Bitcoin. There's these limits that they always have. You need a bank account, you need a credit card, you need a Stripe account or an Apple Pay account, and that's not accessible, as Bumi mentioned before, to a lot of people around the world. So I ended up on Second News. I actually saw an advertisement from Juan, who led the LightSats project. And I decided to help him out. I thought, yeah, I can do the programming for this. And I joined Juan and Rene, and we worked together building LightSats, and ended up winning the Bolt Fund Legends of Lightning hackathon last year. So that was a really great experience there. And really looking forward to seeing all the awesome, applications and opportunities that come out of this year's hackathon.
Great stuff.
Wait. I have a question for you, because so you won.
Yes.
And how did that change? Like, you got a job, like what happened when you won, right? Like, what was the transformation? What did it do for you? Why was this important as a builder and a hacker, and having done things in the past? What is like the before and after of participating in a tournament that is longer, right? Versus a 3-day thing?
Yeah, so it was great. Actually, I am quite proud. I made a really basic version of LightSats, but we actually got it running in 3 days. But because we had this time, right, 2 months, we could really polish the project. And because we had 3 different team members of completely different, skills and abilities, we all worked together to create something better than what any of us could do alone. And Rene, on my team member, works for Alby, and that's how I learned about Alby, the Alby extension, and also value for value, which I now understand is, a superior monetization model compared to, ads or, subscriptions with credit cards. That these are the prominent, fiat models right now. So I think I can say that in the last year, my life has completely changed, right? So it's been an amazing journey, and I wish the more people that can go through this, the better. So I'm doing all I can to, support. We're creating these sessions. Yeah. So please do go back and watch the other 3 sessions we made as well, if you're a developer. But if you're not, it doesn't matter, as long as you're willing to help, and whatever, if you have time, if you're willing to put in some effort, if you can write some content, do some advertising, test some projects that are out there, anything is really helpful. You just need to put in the work.
Thank you.
Well, off the back of this, I would say we're probably ready to dive into your content and show the makers how they can get to the final stages by really making the most of their development using tools that make developing easy. So I'm now gonna pass the stage back to you again, Roland and Bumi, so that you can walk us through how easy it is to build with some of what you guys created.
Cool. I'll just share my screen.
Thank you. Awesome. Let's get into it. So I think today we're actually not talking too much about the Alby browser extension. I think we briefly talk about WebLN, but we have been talking about that in many other sessions before. There is much stuff out there. I think today we talk a bit about some of the APIs that we're providing, some of the potentially missing APIs that are like you need for building web applications and that integrate Lightning. So let's get into it. Yeah. Do you have the screens, the slides working for you?
I'm sharing, but
I don't see them yet. I hope they're on the screen. Maybe somebody can give us a quick hint and say that they're visible.
You can see them now?
Now it looks good. Okay, perfect. So let's get into it. Yeah.
Yep. So as I mentioned, this is the fourth part of our series. Please do go ahead and watch the first two parts, which we're done with the Indonesia Bitcoin conference, and part 3, which was done for Nostra Asia with Bulk Fund. So let's jump right into it. You already know us both. And today we're going to do a demo of an integration we did recently with a popular open source tool, Cal.com, which has over 100,000 users and supports different payment methods, but did not support Lightning payments. So we have a blog here, which we discuss exactly how you can go and set up your account and integrate payments, but I'll see if I can actually give you a demo right now. So in Cal.com, what I'm going to do is just pretend that I'm going to have some open slots, and instead of giving meetings with people for free, I can say, if you want to book me, you have to pay some sats. So I can go to apps. It's quite cool in Cal.com. It's like a super app of all these apps. And so we developed an Alby payment app. The other two are Stripe and PayPal at the moment. So I just installed the Alby app. And the first thing you'll see is it's not actually set up yet. So I'll quickly go through the setup. And we'll talk about what's happening here, but basically you're connecting your Alby account to Cal.com so that Cal.com can access certain features of your account. Here, it will read your payment details, specifically your Lightning address is necessary. And that's in order to be able to create invoices that guests who want to book some time with you can pay. And the second one, get real-time updates on invoices. That's so that when a guest pays, they try to book some time with you, they pay, Cal.com has to receive acknowledgement of the payment. So I'll go ahead and connect here. Cool. So now if I go back to my meeting that I had, 30 minutes, you can see that I can now enable this Alby app, and I'll say to book 30 minutes of my time, you'll have to pay 1,000 sats. So I can preview this meeting, so I can just pretend to book with myself. I can say 10 a.m. Confirm. And now you'll see this is, so I pretend I'm the guest, right? I'm booking some time, well, with myself, but rather than, providing credit card details, you can just pay with a single button if you have the Alby extension, or you can click show QR if you would want to pay with the mobile wallet. So I'll just click here and click pay now. And the meeting is scheduled. So that's kind of what we're going to show how all of this works. But first we'll go through a bit of theory, just so you understand exactly how all the pieces fit together. So, but first, before we get into that, we'd like to describe the problem, right? What we're trying to solve here. So we have, as I said, we have this general application, cal.com. It has existing functionality, existing user base. It has existing payment providers, but we want to bring Bitcoin and Lightning into everyday applications that a lot of people use and enjoy. And this is one way that we can show that Lightning, even to non-Bitcoiners, we can show that Lightning is just superior in every single way. So the first thing is, when you log into cal.com, you don't want to have to, create a new wallet. You see, when I paid for the booking, right, the payment goes directly into my Alby account. There's no balance on the cal.com site that I have to withdraw. It's a direct integration there. And from the person who's booking, they just want to be able to send a payment with whatever wallet they already use. And specifically for these companies like cal.com, it's actually quite challenging at the moment to have received Bitcoin themselves around regulations, custody. And actually it's a lot better if the creators, the people who enable guests to come and book some of their time, actually receive the payments directly. And we also want to, when we create an integration, we want cal.com to have the least permissions to access Lightning functionality as possible. So it can connect to your Alby account, but it can only receive and check if payments, it can only create invoices and see if those invoices have been paid. It does not have any access to your account to send payments or do any of the other things that an Alby account enables you to do. And the application, such as cal.com, needs to orchestrate payments in the name of the user. For example, creating invoices, getting notified about the changes of the invoice status. Remy, would you like to expand on that a little bit?
That's just exactly what you were saying. The important part here that to emphasize on is, so these are the basics of programmable money also, right? So that's, you can orchestrate a payment and you can orchestrate the payment flow. As you say, the ultimate flow is coming from the sender directly to the receiver, and cal.com as the application here is just facilitating it. Cal.com is facilitating the booking of this time slot and is facilitating that the payment goes directly from the sender to whoever is offering this time slot. So this is an important part. So for that, APIs are needed, and for that, especially the two APIs are needed that you can create invoices, and we got open standards for that. All right, we will talk about that a bit later. But the other one is also cal.com obviously needs to get informed once the payment has been succeeded, because then the booking is ultimately confirmed in that regard. So. And I think this is, and I think we have one more point here, and I think this is especially where we need to push Lightning towards also, is that developers do not necessarily need to speak the Lightning terminology. We bring a little bit of the more high-level APIs to developers to allow them to integrate this functionalities. So, and my favorite example there is always, like, as a podcast app, for example, I want to build the best podcasting experience. I don't necessarily want to build a Lightning wallet and know about the Lightning details. As a podcasting app, I want to send and load boostergrams and not necessarily learn about key send payments. And I think these are the kind of things where we try to make it easy for these apps to integrate that functionality without knowing the underlying protocol too much. So, and I think this is where a lot of the specs, like the APIs that we are providing here, but also like the ideas of LNUL, WebLN, etc., come in play and try to hide that complexity away as much as possible, because that's where the innovation then can happen. So
it's also actually exactly the case in Cal.com, because they already have payment providers set up, right? They have PayPal, they have Stripe, and to add a third payment provider, Alby, that follows the same, patterns, the same how to create this booking, how to pay for it, how to know if the booking has been paid or not. Cal.com doesn't want to deal with all this, internal, how to make Lightning payments at the low level, right? They just want a high level API.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Cal.com provides the best scheduling application. They shouldn't try to provide the best wallet. And this is where we want to get Lightning to, right? So this is all the applications where we want to empower this deep Lightning integration, so that they are not only about like being some kind of a service for users, but actually also being able to orchestrate payments and integrate payments flows in there. So, and I definitely believe that when Lightning will win, when we have when we manage to do that, when we manage to integrate Lightning into these apps. And Lightning will kind of win because it's the superior protocol, or it's the protocol to provide that. Right now, so far, we didn't have a protocol for that. Cool. Let's look into it.
Sorry, my keyboard's not working. Okay. So first, we'd like to discuss a bit about the OAuth API that Alby provides. And this is what we were talking about before, how an app like Cal.com can receive scoped access to a specific user's Alby account. And the user will be the one who authorizes or denies that access. And it's just like, Facebook or Google or these other services that you can use your account to connect to these other different apps. So I think I covered them. There's some example scopes that you can request as an application, such as being able to send payments, or maybe just create invoices that other people can pay. Maybe you want to know the user's balance, or maybe you want to know when an invoice has actually been paid or not. And so when a user authorizes the request for the app itself will receive these tokens that it can use to authenticate itself. And OAuth is an open standard. Unfortunately, some of the Alby API is not interoperable with, other service providers, but it's something that works right now while we're building these self-custodial tools, which take a lot of time and effort and are very difficult to do. And if you're interested in looking at the wallet API, how to get started, we have some great documentation available. So there's another option we have. So there's the case where an app wants to connect to multiple users' accounts, right? But there's also a case where maybe you're building your own application and you just want to be able to create invoices or send payments out from your own account. So basically automating your Alby account. And using an access token like this, you still use the same API as I mentioned previously. And let's go through a quick demo. So here we have a simple REST API to be able to create an invoice. So post/invoices. And for the most basic, you can pass other parameters, but The one that is required is the amount, and that's in Satoshis. So I can create an invoice just by posting with this single field. Here we can see the amount that comes back, and also the payment request, and that's the one that you would share with the person who you want to actually pay the invoice.
So what did you do to authorize this request now?
Yep. So it uses an access token that you can generate at getalby.com. So this token could be from an OAuth client, or it can be a personal access token. So if I go to getalby.com developer, you'll see the developer portal here. I'll create a new access token. And the cool thing here, right, is we can just set up the scopes to only be able to create invoices. If you have this token, just like I showed the token before, don't worry, you can't access, you can't steal any sats from my account, because this token has only access to creating invoices. So I can create a token that will expire in a couple of days' time. And let's see if I go back to the previous tab, replace the token, and you can see I'll change the amount, I guess, to make it more clear. But the creation date of the invoice also did change. Cool. So here I have an amount, an invoice for 2,000 sats that someone can pay. So let's go back to what are the use cases of this, right? So I covered that a bit before, but this is quite cool because a single access token in this API, you can make payments or have Lightning functionality from anywhere. It could be from your backend of your website, a CLI tool that you create that users can log in by providing their own access token. The key thing here is that normally you don't want to share these tokens, right? They should be secret. Only you should know them. You can set it as, like an environment variable, and then just use it to access Lightning functionality. So again, if you want your other users to be able to connect to an application that you create, it's better to use an OAuth client because you don't have to guide users on how to create an access token, which is actually more for developers.
Yeah. So the OAuth flow generally is made and designed, and it's a standard, right? And it's an open standard that has been around for many years, that allows application to request permissions to do certain actions on users' behalf. So this is the typical third-party flow, and with the personal access tokens, this is like when the developer and the user is like the developer and the account owner is the same person, right?
Yep. So actually I can give an example. LightSats right now is a custodial service. So what happens is when you want to create a tip for someone to onboard a new person who doesn't know about Bitcoin or Lightning, you can create this tip and fund some sats. And the user, you can give them this tip, and if they don't claim the sats, they don't withdraw them to their own wallet in time, we can automatically refund them, send them back to your Lightning wallet if you give us your Lightning address. And to make that payment back, a personal access token is a really good option because this is the custodial wallet account, and you have one access token to be able to manage it. Okay. So now we'll go through the different open protocols and different parts, other parts that are needed in order to do this implementation in cal.com. So as I just mentioned, with Lightning addresses, this is needed to request an invoice, because a standard Bolt 11 invoice can only be paid once, right? And so if you request multiple invoices each time, it will the invoice will be different, and that's very difficult to you know, for a user. If you're going to send if I'm going to send sats to my mum, for example, send her some sats every week. If I just have a Lightning address, that's a lot easier. And this is powered by
You're such a nice son.
Actually, I still need an orange pill then. So yeah, it's a work in progress. Yeah. But so LNURL basically makes this possible, right? So the core Lightning protocols, maybe they're not ready. It's a lot of work, right, to you know, build these open standards. Bolt 12 is in progress, right? But in the meantime, we have LNURL, which is a way of requesting Lightning functionality over HTTP requests. So just like a Lightning address, you can do a request and then basically get an invoice back. And each time you request the same Lightning address, but you get a different invoice that you can pay. And that's basically powered by LNURL Pay. And as I talked about Stack and Use at the beginning, being able to actually do the reverse, right? Being able to, for the LNURL server, which has access to the user's wallet or the user's node, to be able to actually send sats to the person who is requesting them. So I think that's a really cool feature. But we chatted quite a lot about LNURL in the first session. So if you're interested, please do go and check that one out. And in the cal.com case, as I mentioned, we use the user's Lightning address to be able to request invoices so that the guest can pay them. So now there's another part, right? So the guest actually has to pay the invoice, and how do they do that? So if they have, you know, an app on their phone, and they're on their computer, they can obviously scan a QR code and pay with their wallet, their mobile wallet. But you know, each time you have to open your mobile wallet, or if you're doing everything on your phone, then you have to switch between apps, and this is not seamless. You know, it takes maybe 5 seconds, when we can improve this to just a single tap to make the payment. And this is kind of one of the things that WebLN solves. But Bumi, would you like to expand on a bit about WebLN?
Maybe just to add, it's a JavaScript interface that you can use as any other native JavaScript function in the browser. So the idea is that you have a JavaScript function to request a payment, to request an invoice from the user. And it's completely interoperable. That means whatever wallet the user is using, the web application doesn't care about. The web application is just calling these default JavaScript functions.
And that's great for developers, right? Because developers who are creating these websites, all they need to do is have access to this simple WebLN interface, right? So send payment or making an invoice. They don't have to know how to actually connect to these different nodes or wallets. They don't have to know even what is behind, as long as that there is something that can provide this functionality.
Yeah, and this is again like the the concept here, generally always the concept is the user has a wallet and brings the wallet to the application. So here the user has a wallet in the browser through an extension, for example, through the Alby extension, and brings that one to the website when they visit the website in the browser. So this is the paying side here again.
And another thing we covered in the first episode as well, I think, is that this is a very different flow, right, compared to the traditional fiat flow, where normally a site backend has access to your credit card details and they can pull payments from your account, and you basically have to trust the website that they're going to do what they said. Whereas WebLN, it's a very small piece which the website will request, but the user is actually the one that provides the wallet, and it's only the front end that has a small communication channel to the Lightning wallet. So I think that's quite powerful. And the Alby extension is completely open source, but it's only one possible provider, right? We would like to see many different providers of WebLN. So there's a lot of different extensions already available, I think, like Collider, and also mobile wallets like Breeze, which implement WebLN. I think the Spring browser as well. So you can try all those out. And actually, there's another project that we've just entered into this year's hackathon, Bitcoin Connect, which actually allows websites to inject a provider. So you don't even need an extension. So that's quite cool. But WebLN is just one option. You always have access to the invoice, right? So as long as the user has some way to pay this invoice, either by copying it, scanning it, and paying with a different wallet, that also works. Cool. So now, once the user has actually paid, Cal.com or the application, right, has to know that the user has paid. How can the back end of the website know for certain that the user actually paid? So let's go through a demo first. So in the Alby developer portal again, I can create a webhook. And I'll use this cool SwixPlay webhook tester, right? So this is the URL that I'm going to test, but you can think, for example, is that it will be your website and then a specific endpoint in your website's API, which will be able to receive these requests. So I'm going to paste this one in here, and I choose that I'm going to listen for incoming payments. So every time my Alby account receives a payment, it will notify this URL, or it can be your website URL, so that you can receive this update and act upon it. So I've created the webhook, but I haven't received any payments yet, right? So there's no messages here. So we can go back to this 2000 set invoice that I created previously. And I have the payment request here. So I just copy it and send using a different account. Made the payment. And you can see already instantly the URL that I provided was notified of this payment. So you can see the amount, 2,000 sats, the payment request, when it was settled, the status, and also some additional metadata, and that's something we'll cover later. So when I originally created the invoice, I only specified an amount, but you can actually specify some metadata so that when you receive the payment, you can act upon the payment with the knowledge of what the payment was about. And it actually enables quite a few possibilities. So I mentioned you provide your own website API endpoint so it can receive the notification of the payment. And we'd like to quickly discuss the difference between webhooks. So instantly receiving the payment. So Alby will push a notification to your website, your API, versus polling, which would be your backend having to request, once a second until the invoice status actually changes to paid, and then you know that you can complete the booking in the case of Cal.com. But there's some downsides of polling, right? It's quite inefficient. You have to keep polling, and you have to handle things about like when are you going to give up if the user never pays. It makes the application more complicated. It's slower because you'll only receive updates every time you check. If you check once per 10 seconds, if the payment was made in 5 seconds, then the user will actually see the update, or the application will be 5 seconds slower than necessary, right? So, and if you create a serverless app that isn't actually running, it only responds to requests. If you have serverless functions that only spin up when something happens, it's actually really difficult to implement polling in your application, because you need to have something that's running 24/7 in order to do this polling. So but one benefit of polling here is that we're trying to push an update to the LNURL spec. So LNURL verify would be an interoperable way of checking if a payment or not if an invoice has been paid or not. And no matter which Lightning address you would use, you would be able to use LNURL verify. So we still think this is a great thing that should be done, and we're trying to push it forward. But in the meantime, sometimes webhooks are just easier, and that's one of the services that Alby provides. And we hope in the future we have something that is, an open spec that it's not just Alby, but no matter what Lightning wallet you use, self-custodially, you'll be able to receive some push event that a payment was made. So I just want to briefly mention that you, as the app developer, when you receive a request to your webhook URL, you have to be careful to make sure that it was actually sent by Alby. It wasn't sent by an attacker trying to maybe bypass some checks on your site, access functionality for free, pretend they make payments. So when you receive a webhook request, it will contain some headers, which you can use a simple client library in order to verify that they actually came from who, in our case, Alby, right? That we were the one who sent the request. And when you actually receive this request, what that enables is basically you can create this logic, right? So maybe if you receive a payment, you can split it in half and send it to 2 different people. And this is one really cool thing about Lightning, right? Is that it's open source programmable money, and all these things. It's just your imagination, which limits the things you can do here. So, and as I mentioned before, you can attach metadata to the payment, right? So to the invoice when you create it. So when you receive a payment, you can check the metadata and do certain things. So the last slide, as we mentioned throughout, we would love to, Alby is pushing all these open protocols. We're contributing to WebLN, LNURL, Nostra Wallet Connect, and in this slide, we're going to talk about could the Carol.com integration have been done with Nostra Wallet Connect? Bumi, would you like to briefly recap again about Nostra Wallet Connect, what it enables, maybe why it's a bit different than the Alby API, for example?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, a lot of things in the space have trying to solve similar problems, I would say, which is you want to somehow connect to a wallet. You want to make an invoice. You want to initiate a payment on the user's wallet and things like that. Nostra Wallet Connect initially started, as the name says, for Nostr. To allow Nostr clients to send subs directly within the application. For that, also the Nostr client would need a protocol, a way to initiate a payment from the user's connected wallet. And the idea here is, and that's actually pretty cool, to use the Nostr protocol itself, the Nostr relays, to do this communication. So that means a Nostr client or any client, any application can publish an event that is sent to a relay, and from there, this message, this event is sent to the user's wallet, who performs the action, performs the request, processes the request, and sends a response back. Because of this relay concept, it's reusing the whole Nostr infrastructure, which is awesome. And this, at the same time, it makes it much easier for any kind of wallet, to be connected to. Like if it's your own node running at home behind a router, like a Raspberry Blitz or an Umbrel, or if it's an Alby account, or if it's some other wallet that you're using, all those would work with that. So initially the spec was made for, I think you have some points there, right? Some bullet points. But initially the spec was made to initiate a payment. But the spec is expanded because it has been seen that it's actually quite useful to use this concept. So the spec is expanded to also create an invoice, to check an invoice status, and do all these kind of things that we were just talking about before, to enable certain applications to orchestrate these kind of payments, to orchestrate the flow of money. I think one thing that is still missing there is also that we have push notifications, like that we can notify an application once a payment is received. So this webhook problem that we solve with the webhooks, or this notification problem that we solve with the webhooks, as you showed, is cannot be done there yet, but we'll see if we will get this into the spec in the future. So.
Yeah, and one other really cool thing, right, is that, so there's two parts in Nostra Wallet Connect, right? There's the client, for example, if you're running Damus or some other app and you want to make a payment, the interface is so simple, right? So simple to implement. And that's great for developers who want to be able to interact with Lightning functionality. The complexity is moved to the other side of the relay, right? The receiving end, which can be, on like running on, some desktop that's running 24/7, or your node, which is a bit different to the Alby extension, which the Alby extension itself is great because it allows users to connect to all these different types of wallets, but it makes the Alby extension actually quite complicated to implement. It has to have all these different implementations of how to connect to nodes, and when we try and bring the Alby extension to mobile, that is quite difficult with the the different levels of support in different browsers, or the incompatibilities between them. So we already covered that. And just to mention again, the interoperability of Nostra Wallet Connect is great, right? So yeah, no matter what wallet you connect to, you're using the same interface, and it's basically the same as WebLN, right? Which is really, really cool. And we also covered this point. So again, actually, something similar to LNURL Verify is already possible with Nostra Wallet Connect. So you, through the protocol, you can create invoices and then look up the status of the invoices. So you can pull them
So I'm not sure if we lost Roland or if I am lost.
I think we lost Roland. I'm going to try to see if he connects again.
Okay. Luckily, we lost him at the last slide. Right in time.
So Bhumi, I have a question for you. So
Please.
Apps don't have the language for Lightning. Is that like your biggest headache? Like, if I was just listening to a session earlier this morning that the testnet faucet is super choked. So what is your, like, if you could remove a choke point for Alby, what would it be?
I definitely think that that we need to still make it easier for application developers that are not Lightning developers,
yes,
to integrate Lightning. So this is actually, I think, where we need to ultimately get. So some other example that I think I tried to make is like, if I, for example, build a podcast application, I want to build the best podcasting application. I want to, the best podcasting experience there. And this is where developers should optimize for. They shouldn't necessarily learn about channels and learn about integrating Lightnings and whatever is there. So learning the Lightning language, what is a key send payment, what are custom records, what is Bold 11, and so on. So this is not necessarily what they should do. So we need to make it as simple as possible for these developers to integrate it, because I think this is where the things need to come together. Right. So this is where you build a podcasting application and we want to integrate programmable money in there. And to do that, we need to make it easy, and we need to ideally speak their language, right? Their existing language that they already have, that they already know. So, and I think this is definitely one goal that we will try to do, like with the Alby browser extension. It should be easy for web developers to request and initiate a payment. So with the Alby API, we also try to do that, because then it becomes more, more applications will get access to that. Yeah.
Well, we found Roland, so I'll bring him back up stage. Give me a second. Thank you for that.
Yes. Hello. Sorry. Yeah, it's a bit difficult when I'm sharing my screen, and I didn't know I disconnected. So I was just talking to myself for a few minutes.
For a few seconds, I'm sure. Don't worry.
Yep. Okay. I'll go ahead.
Right? We still need.
It was the last slide, I think.
Wherever we are, the global thing is awesome, but sometimes the connection is still an issue. Cool.
Well, I think we're all in different cities, so I mean, it is already amazing and incredible that we can do this, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Different cities, different time zones, still coming together. So yeah.
I wish we could fix the weather, though. we would have Roland's weather for a little bit. So, Roland, do you have the last slide? Do you want to try that, or are you done?
Yep.
Just to check. So I'm going to remove myself so we can have a little space for the screen.
But I think we were pretty much done, right? Not sure.
Yeah. So just going through a code demo now. I guess I'll start from the beginning. Right at the beginning of this call, right, we went through the cal.com integration, and now we'll go through the small pieces of Lightning code that we can inject to enable this functionality, so that users can receive Lightning payments rather than using Stripe or PayPal. So let's go to the first step. So you, as the owner of the meetings, will connect your Alby account to cal.com, right? So we'll step through how this works. So the first thing we do is there's an OAuth client and client secret. We don't actually know these. These are configured by cal.com, but actually they are public. When you go to the authorization page, the client ID and secret will be part of the URL. So we also have it set up a callback URL. So when the user authorizes the request to connect to the app, they'll be brought back to this page so that the application can continue and act upon that. We also set the scopes. So as I mentioned before, cal.com only has access to read an account to get the Lightning address and also read invoices in order to act upon payments. Next, basically, we're launching this dialog so that the user can authorize the request or not. And if that works and we get the user's account information, their Lightning address, we also are able to set up a webhook, just like I did from the dashboard, but this time programmatically we set up a webhook which will listen to incoming invoices that are in the settled state, and that's how we know that the invoice has been paid. And we specify the endpoint on the cal.com backend that is going to receive these requests. And then we just save the credentials about the user's account, and this is so that the user can see when they open the Alby app, they can see, oh yes, I'm connected with this Lightning address, this email. And also, when we created that webhook endpoint, we received a secret back, and that's this one here is actually what we use to verify that any webhook requests that come in are actually sent by Alby and not someone impersonating Alby in order to, book meetings for free, for example. That's probably not too bad, but maybe for a different app, it could be worse. So you should verify that webhooks are actually sent by Alby. Bumi, would you like to add anything on this point, or do you have any questions here before we go to the next section?
No, let's go to the next section.
Cool.
I think that's good. I think like the code is open anyway, right? So it's always good to have this example, and people can check it out. If somebody has a questions while they're check it out, please let us know. But let's go to the next piece.
Cool. So the next step is when a guest
Could
is
increase
actually
the font size a little bit, maybe, if that's possible.
increased.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's already better. Good.
Okay, so next is when a guest is coming in and they want to book some of my time, for example, if I'm the one who is opening up for bookings, for meeting bookings. So the user, so all this functionality is already all done by cal.com. So the user, they will book, but in this case, it's a paid booking, right? So instead of just allowing immediate booking, the user has to make a payment first. So in here, cal.com database has payments basically. So it will set up a payment that will need to be paid by the user before the booking can be processed. So before that, in order to pay the booking, we need an invoice, right? So the user will pay the invoice to complete the booking. And how do we request an invoice? We use LN URL, right? So we know the lightning address of the person the owner of the meeting. So what we can do is we can fetch details about their lightning address, how many sets, the minimum and maximum amount of sets they can receive, the callback URL, which is the one that will be called to request an invoice, and some other information. So the callback URL is the important thing here, and that's what enables the next line where we request an invoice. And the amount is already set up when I created the event type, right? I set 1,000 sets for 30 minutes of time. So here that will be 1,000 sets, but it's up to the event type, whatever the user sets. And also we inject some payer data here, which is another piece of LNURL. So LUD18, you can specify arbitrary payment data, which will be linked to so it's not included in the Bolt 11 invoice. That's not possible, but there will be a link. The LNURL server will store this data so that when you receive the payment, so when the Bolt 11 invoice is paid, we can link this back together and send it together in the webhook notification. So here I decided to add this field called FID and cal.com, and I use that so that when I set up in a webhook, cal.com is going to receive notifications of any payment that comes in, but we only want to filter payments that are actually relevant to cal.com, and other ones we just ignore. The next thing is a reference ID. So we generate a random UUID, and again, this is just part of how cal.com works, and that's how to link the payment, their internal payment, with any incoming Lightning payment that comes in. So we have the invoice now, and we basically link it to the cal.com's payment.
Cool.
Cool.
Yep. I think let's emphasize on if people have a question, check out the code. Please reach out if you have any questions on that. Read it through. That's always a good example of how you can link internal systems to external systems, Lightning to internal payments, and yeah. Cool.
So for now, I don't see any questions, but in the meantime, I want to thank you guys for this wonderful explanation and for really showing how easy you're making it to create on Lightning. In the meantime, while people come up with some questions, if there's any, I do have a question for you. So now that you've made so much progress in really smoothing the developer experience when integrating Lightning, what do you see as one of the most compelling use cases that could make use of this technology that's now available?
That's always the best question. That's always the best question. I mean, that's why I also, for example, like all these hackathons and events like here, because that's where ideas come together. This is, I think, what we need to enable and what we need to make possible, because if this is where we actually are lacking now. So we are like, we have such a great base layer. We have the Lightning layer now. We have now APIs on top of that. We can integrate it into applications. And now it's about our creativity, what we can do with that. And the creativity happens like, you have an idea, I have an idea, and suddenly those ideas are multiplying, right? And this is the interesting thing. As I said before, I think one general thing that I always like is to think about what kind of user action that the user is currently performing in an application. What kind of action can we connect with a Lightning payment, for example? And what does that mean then? So we had the typical example is the like. So now a like is no longer just a click and a database entry, but suddenly it becomes a much stronger signal because it has a Lightning a payment associated with it. And these kind of things, I think this is where we as developers should think towards. Yeah. Combining that with AI. Once we had this hackathon here too, right? Having AI applications that are resource intense. There, Lightning is a perfect technology to solve this problem, to solve the payment problem there. So yeah.
And also, I think integrating Lightning into as many apps as we can is a great way to see the problems, make our solutions better, show how easy it is, and hopefully more and more applications follow suit, right? And see how easy it is, how beneficial it is. So actually, if there's no questions, there's 2 more code sections of this this demo. So I'll go ahead with the third one now. So when the user goes
over time, right? That's why we should people can look it up and ask us question, or do we still have a minute for that?
So we are over time, but I think it's fine to go for a few more minutes, unless Marina has anything to say. Yeah, I guess we can go with.
Roland, we get 1 minute.
Yeah,
cool.
It's easy. Fine. It's easy though. Get 1 minute, but yeah, and people should check out the code anyway. So this is the most important thing when they see it yourself, right?
Yep. Okay. So this really simple. There's just a couple of lines example of how to use window.webln. So this is when the guest is going to make the payment. How they do that, if they have an Alby extension, that's really easy. Otherwise,
and
there's
now
a
we need to bring
fallback.
up the screen actually, because we don't see your screen.
You see it now? Yep. Okay, cool. So yeah, just basically just the 2 lines, right, to make a payment if you have a WebLN provider available like the Alby extension. So this is really cool. And the final step is the webhook handler, and that is when Cal.com receives a payment, what it will do to update the booking, basically send out the confirmations. So maybe I won't jump into the details here, but definitely read through the code yourself if you have any questions, like Bumi said. Please let us know. We have channels on Alby Telegram, developer channels, so any question is great. Yeah, and as Bumi said, the Cal.com integration is well, cow.com is open source on GitHub, so you can just check it out there. It's quite a cool app. Quite impressive how the architecture as well there.
Thank you, Roland. I think that the part of the code and seeing it in action is the funnest part for this group of audience members. So thank you so much for that. Michele, do you have anything to close? Any questions?
No, I don't have any more questions. I'm really grateful for this conversation and demo that we did today. And yeah, looking forward to seeing many more new integrations coming up and new cool projects integrating Lightning.
Well, Bolt Fun uses Alby, so that's amazing too.
Of course.
Well, thank you both. We really appreciate you being here, and thank you for teaching the next generation of Lightning developers where to go, what to do, and how to make building fun.
Thank you
Thanks
so
very
much.
much, Marina. Kelly.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Lots of fun.
See you.